The planet of Leora was calm, bathed in a soft green glow from its two suns. Towering crystal trees swayed in gentle breezes, and rivers shimmered like liquid silver as they wound through the valleys. The inhabitants, the Leorans, were peaceful, intelligent beings with delicate features and pale blue skin. They lived in harmony with nature, building their cities to blend with the land rather than dominate it. For centuries, their world had known no war, no hunger, and very little fear. But that peace ended suddenly. From the depths of space, a fleet of black and crimson ships appeared, moving with a precision that made even the most experienced Leoran commanders uneasy. These were the Raiders, a mercenary force from the outer sectors who did not care for treaties, diplomacy, or life itself. They came for resources, for profit, and for the thrill of destruction. The Leoran leaders were unprepared. Their defense systems were minimal, designed only to deter small threats or accidents. They had no ships capable of matching the Raiders' speed or firepower. As the first Raider vessels approached the orbital stations, panic spread among the population. Alarms rang through the crystalline cities, and citizens fled to underground shelters. High above the surface, Commander Selene, the leader of the Leoran planetary defense, tried to rally her forces. "We cannot fight them alone," she said, her voice trembling only slightly. Her advisors nodded, though their faces betrayed fear. "We must call for help, the Galactic Council, someone, anyone who can respond." Selene turned to the communication console and began sending a distress call. Her hands flew over the controls, sending a clear, urgent message across the stars. "This is Leora. Our world is under attack by a mercenary fleet. We request immediate assistance. Help us before it is too late." She watched the stars blink on her screens, hoping that some friendly fleet would hear their call. Minutes stretched like hours. The Raiders had already begun bombarding the outer cities, and the Leorans had little to defend themselves with. Then, almost unexpectedly, a response arrived, but it was not from the allies they had hoped for. The message came in a deep, commanding tone, carried by an unfamiliar transmission format. It was short and unmistakable. "Help is on the way. Hold your ground." Selene read it aloud to her team. "Hold your ground? But who are they?" The answer came a few moments later, as shapes appeared on the edge of Leora's space. Massive ships emerged from hyperspace, larger and more imposing than any the Leorans had ever seen. Their hulls were dark, reinforced, and bristling with weapons. They moved with precision, almost as if they knew exactly where every enemy ship would be before it even appeared. The Leorans stared in awe and fear. These were humans. Legends of humanity, the so-called Deathworlders, had floated through Leoran stories for centuries. Humans were said to be resilient, capable of surviving on the harshest planets, and able to endure conditions that would kill most other species. They were warriors, survivors, and problem solvers. But most stories painted them as dangerous, unpredictable, and violent. The Leorans had never actually seen humans in action. Now here they were, arriving at Leora's defense in full force. The first shots fired by the humans' fleet were decisive. A squadron of Raider ships attempted to break through the Leoran orbital defenses, only to be destroyed almost instantly. Missiles streaked through space. Lasers cut precise paths through enemy hulls, and drones swarmed with mechanical perfection. The Raiders, who had expected easy prey, found themselves under relentless fire from an enemy they could not even identify. On the surface, the Leorans watched through observation windows and holographic displays. They had always thought of war as distant, something they could avoid through diplomacy. But the humans were unlike any force they had imagined. They did not hesitate, they did not negotiate. They acted with a calculated efficiency that both terrified and amazed the aliens. One young Leoran, a scientist named Terran, whispered to his colleague as they watched the battle unfold. They are not like anyone we know. Look at how they move. They anticipate everything." His colleague nodded, eyes wide. They are incredible, but also frightening. Are they even safe to have here?" Commander Selene took a deep breath and said, "We have no choice. They are the only chance we have. We must trust them even if it is difficult." By now the Raiders were retreating. Their ships were being picked off one by one, unable to cope with the humans' tactics. Some attempted to flee, only to be intercepted and disabled before they could jump to hyperspace. Others were forced into the planet's atmosphere. where the humans had positioned orbital strikes that left the attackers no room to maneuver. On the bridge of the largest human ship, Captain Marcus observed the battlefield with calm precision. Unlike the Liorans, who valued diplomacy and ethics above all, Marcus and his crew focused on results. Their mission was simple: protect the planet and ensure the raiders could not harm a single civilian. Every move was calculated, every attack intentional. They knew that failure was not an option. "Target their lead ship," Marcus ordered. "We need to make them understand they cannot come here again." A human officer responded, "Lead ship locked. Firing in 3, 2, 1. A beam of concentrated energy shot through space, hitting the Raider flagship with pinpoint accuracy. The explosion was massive but controlled, ensuring debris did not damage the planet below. The remaining Raider ships panicked, scattering in all directions. As the humans finished securing orbit, the Liorans sent out cautious messages, attempting to communicate with these unknown saviors. The humans responded, their tone firm but respectful. "Civilians must be evacuated to secure zones. We will coordinate defenses. Follow our instructions precisely." Celine and her team followed the humans' orders, surprised at how quickly the humans understood the planet's unique environment. The humans adapted their technology to Leora's atmosphere and gravity with remarkable speed. Drones were deployed to protect key infrastructure, and temporary shields were placed around the most vulnerable cities. Despite the efficiency of the humans, fear lingered. The Liorans had never fought in a war. Their weapons were designed to stun or disable, not destroy. Yet the humans moved as if they were accustomed to battle, unafraid of any danger. Terran watched a human soldier leap from one platform to another during a skirmish, dodging blasts that would have been fatal to any Lioran. "They are something else," he whispered. "I think they might be stronger than any species in the sector." Celine nodded silently. She had no doubt now. Humans were not like other allies they had counted on. They were something far more formidable, and their methods, though frightening, were saving her people. As the first wave of raiders fled, the humans did not relax. Patrols remained in orbit, scanning for any signs of return attacks. On the surface, humans worked alongside Lioran engineers to repair damages and strengthen defenses. They did not ask for thanks or recognition. Their focus was entirely on ensuring the colony's safety. That night, under the glow of Leora's twin suns, the Liorans gathered to watch the human ships patrol the skies. Children peeked from windows, fascinated by these strange saviors. Elders whispered stories of the Deathworlders, now seeing that the legends had underestimated humanity. Selen stood among her people, her heart still pounding from the day's events. "We asked for help," she said softly, "but we did not expect this. We expected allies like ourselves. But these humans, they are something else entirely." Terran, standing beside her, nodded. "They are dangerous, yes, but in the right way. They fight not for greed or conquest, but to protect, and they will not stop until the threat is gone." Celine looked up at the night sky, where human ships moved silently among the stars. She realized that the Liorans had witnessed something rare. Humans were not just powerful, they were relentless, inventive, and unyielding. They were Deathworlders, survivors of harsh worlds and now the saviors of Leora. A new hope stirred in her heart. Perhaps the galaxy had more to offer than the Liorans had ever imagined, and perhaps with humans on their side, their world could survive even the darkest days. But somewhere beyond the stars, the remnants of the raiders regrouped. They would return stronger and angrier than before, and when they did, the Liorans would see that the humans' true strength had only begun to show. For now, though, Leora was safe, and the Deathworlders of Earth had made their presence known. The skies above Leora were quiet now, but the tension on the ground remained. The first wave of raiders had been driven off, but the colony had suffered damage. Cities had crumbled under the bombardment, and the rivers that ran through the valleys carried debris and ash. Yet through the ruins, humans moved calmly and efficiently, restoring order with a precision the Liorans could not hope to match. Commander Selen observed them from the central command hall. Humans in their dark uniforms coordinated repairs, organized patrols, and guided civilians to safe zones. They spoke little, but their presence alone was reassuring. There was no panic in their eyes, no hesitation in their movements. They were like a storm that could not be stopped, a storm that could protect instead of destroy. Do they sleep?" asked Terran, the young scientist, to Selene. He had been studying them since their arrival, fascinated by their speed and strength. They move constantly. I have not seen a single mistake, not one misstep. Selene shook her head. I do not know. Perhaps they do, but if they do, it is very little. Their discipline. It is unlike anything I have ever seen. The humans began holding small briefings with Leoran leaders, explaining their strategy in simple terms. They did not lecture or belittle. Instead, they focused on practical steps. Civilians would be protected in secure zones. Patrols would guard key areas, and defensive structures would be built to prepare for any possible return of the raiders. One human, a tall officer named Lieutenant Kara, walked among the Leoran engineers, pointing out ways to strengthen the city's crystalline barriers. Use triangular supports, she instructed, gesturing to a structure that had begun to collapse. It distributes force more evenly. You'll need more of these along the perimeter. The engineers followed her directions carefully, impressed. No one had thought of using their fragile crystal architecture in this way. Kara smiled briefly, noticing their amazement, but quickly moved on to check another section of the city. Meanwhile, Captain Marcus of the human fleet held meetings with Commander Selene, explaining the larger strategy. We cannot assume the raiders are finished, he said. His voice was calm but firm. They will regroup, gather more ships, and return. We must prepare for the possibility of a larger attack. Selene nodded, feeling a mix of fear and hope. Your methods. They are harsh, but effective. The Liorans have never faced anything like this. Can we trust that these humans will act in our best interest? Marcus's eyes were steady. Trust is not required. Results are, we protect, we adapt, we survive. That is enough. While the humans worked on defense, some Liorans cautiously began observing their actions in more detail. Terran followed Lieutenant Kara as she examined the energy grids powering the cities. He noted her careful precision and the way she assessed problems from multiple angles. They think faster than we can, he whispered to himself. And they learn even faster. A small demonstration occurred when a minor breach appeared in the outer shield of a city. A few raider drones had managed to slip through the patrol lines. Humans reacted instantly. Using a combination of guided drones and energy beams, they neutralized the threat within moments. The Leorans had never seen such coordinated action. Selene called a meeting with her advisors. We expected help from species like ours, she said, frustration in her voice. Diplomatic, careful, predictable. But these humans, they are something else entirely. How do we even begin to understand them? Her advisor, an elder named Loris, replied, We cannot understand them fully, Commander. We can only observe, learn, and follow their guidance. That is enough for now. Even as the humans helped the Leorans, small incidents revealed their unusual resilience. A sudden storm swept across a valley where a human squad had been inspecting a defensive outpost. Lightning struck dangerously close, and the wind tossed debris across the landscape. Yet the humans moved as if it were nothing, checking the equipment, securing fragile structures, and even rescuing a stranded Leoran engineer. Terran could hardly believe his eyes. How do they survive this? He asked. Kara, noticing his awe, smiled slightly. We do what must be done, she said simply. If danger is present, we face it. If someone needs help, we act. That is all. The Leorans began to see a pattern. Humans were not reckless. They were deliberate, resourceful, and fearless in ways the aliens could barely comprehend. Their methods seemed harsh compared to Leoran standards, but they worked. And when the humans worked, no one else needed to fear. By the third day of human presence, small patrol teams of humans and Leorans began working together. Humans trained the Leorans in basic defensive tactics, how to detect enemy ships, how to reinforce structures quickly, and how to coordinate responses under pressure. The Leorans learned not by lectures but by doing, guided hands, careful explanations, and repeated practice. Terran was part of one such team. He watched a human named Sergeant Holt demonstrate how to use a sensor array to detect approaching ships. You need to trust your instincts, Holt said. But don't guess. Check, double-check, and act immediately. Hesitation costs lives. For the Leorans, it was a new way of thinking. They were used to contemplation, discussion, and consensus. Acting decisively, especially in life or death situations, was unfamiliar. Yet under the humans' guidance, they began to see results. Their first successful interception of a small raider ship without human intervention filled the team with cautious pride. Still, Not all Liorans were comfortable. Some elders whispered that humans were dangerous, unpredictable, and too violent. They may protect us now, one said, but what of tomorrow? Can we control them? Selen listened to these concerns but remained focused on the immediate need. For now, we must learn from them. We cannot face the raiders alone. Humans may be extreme, but they are our only chance. Tensions were balanced by moments of awe. Children watched humans practice combat drills, amazed by their agility and strength. Citizens saw humans wade into floodwaters, rescue trapped Liorans, and repair vital systems under dangerous conditions. Fear slowly transformed into respect, then admiration. One evening, as the twin suns set behind crystalline mountains, Terran stood on a balcony overlooking the valley. He watched a human squad training Lioran volunteers, demonstrating precise movements, communication, and cooperation. "They are extraordinary," he murmured. "They are not just fighters. They are teachers, protectors, and survivors. The legends. They were right, but they did not capture everything." Commander Selene joined him, her expression calm but thoughtful. "Yes, humans are dangerous, yes. But they are also extraordinary. They are not like any species we have known, and if we can learn from them, perhaps our colony will survive what is to come." In the distance, radar screens picked up faint traces of raider scouts returning. The humans prepared calmly, already predicting the next move. They had seen this before. Unpredictable, ruthless enemies who underestimated human adaptability. And yet, as always, they remained confident in their skill. The Liorans began to understand a vital truth. Humans were not merely warriors. They were problem solvers. They adapted to any situation, endured conditions others could not survive, and acted decisively to protect those who could not protect themselves. It was no wonder they were called Deathworlders, beings who thrived on the harshest planets, who faced danger daily and lived to overcome it. That night, as the twin moons rose over Leora, the colony felt a strange mixture of relief and awe. The humans had arrived. They had saved lives, restored hope, and begun teaching the Liorans to defend themselves. Yet the stories of the raiders' strength and cunning lingered in every mind. Selen stood before her council, her voice firm. "We asked for help. We expected allies who think like us, but we received something far greater. The humans are not like anyone we have known. We cannot predict them and we cannot control them. But we can trust their results, and for now that is enough." Terran, watching the humans across the city, realized that the real lesson had only just begun. These Deathworlders were not here merely to fight. They were here to teach, to inspire, and to prepare Leora for challenges the colony had never imagined. And somewhere beyond the stars, the raiders were planning their return. But for now, Leora had a new hope. A hope born of fearsome humans who could survive the impossible, protect the helpless, and turn a peaceful planet into a fortress ready for any threat. The Deathworlders of Earth had arrived, and nothing on Leora would ever be the same. Days passed on Leora in a careful rhythm. The humans had fortified key cities, trained Lioran volunteers, and repaired much of the damage from the raider attack. The colony slowly regained a sense of security, though everyone knew it was fragile. Even with humans present, the threat of raiders, or worse enemies, still hung over them like a dark cloud. Commander Selen stood on the observation platform of the central city, her blue eyes scanning the stars. A soft hum of energy shields surrounded the city below, their crystalline supports reinforced under human guidance. Civilians moved quietly along secure paths, their trust in the humans growing with each passing day. Suddenly, a flash appeared on the radar. It was small at first, a scout ship, but the pattern was wrong. This was not a single raider. It was part of something much larger. Captain Marcus leaned over the console, his brow furrowed. "This is not a scouting mission," he said. "They are testing the defenses, trying to understand our strategy. We may have only seconds before the full fleet arrives." Selen turned to him, alarmed. "Full fleet? How large are we talking?" Marcus's expression remained calm. "Larger than any raider force we have encountered in this sector. They are mercenaries, yes, but organized and equipped like a small army. If they reach Leoran force, the planet could be lost." The news sent a ripple of fear through the council. Liorans had never fought in a large-scale battle. They were unfamiliar with strategy under pressure, with coordinating multiple units across space, or with the kind of violence humans called efficient. Yet despite their fear, there was hope. Humans were here and humans had a plan. Prepare the Leoran forces, Marcus commanded. We will not face them alone. We adapt, we coordinate, and we defend. Everyone who can fight will fight. We make this planet a fortress. Training intensified immediately. Humans divided the Liorans into teams, pairing each volunteer with a soldier. Humans showed them how to use sensors to track movement, set up energy traps along key routes, and reinforce structures to withstand bombardments. The Leorans struggled at first, hesitant to act decisively or to risk themselves in unfamiliar ways. Lieutenant Kara knelt beside a group of volunteers adjusting their communication devices. You must move together, she said. One delay can ruin the entire operation. Trust your partner, trust the plan, and act without hesitation. Terran, always curious, observed the drills carefully. He noticed how humans anticipated every mistake before it happened, how they adapted on the spot, and how they encouraged Leorans to act boldly without fear. Humans were not just teaching. They were reshaping the way the aliens thought. During one exercise, a small squad of Leorans panicked when a simulation indicated incoming attacks from multiple directions. Sergeant Holt quickly stepped in, demonstrating how to stay calm, divide responsibilities, and use the terrain to their advantage. Within minutes, the squad moved as if they had been working together for years, each member acting confidently under pressure. These humans, Terran whispered to a fellow engineer. They do not just fight, they teach survival. They make us stronger. The first sign of the larger threat arrived quietly at first. Scouts detected multiple ships approaching from beyond the system. Marcus examined the readings and frowned. This is it, he said. They are organized, equipped, and ruthless. Their goal is not just plunder. They will destroy anything in their path. We cannot underestimate them. Selin gathered her counsel. We have seen what humans can do, she said. But this is unlike anything we have faced. Can our colony survive against such a force? Marcus's voice was firm. Survive? Yes, win, possibly. We must work together. You have knowledge of the planet, its resources, and its people. We have experience, tactics, and adaptability. Together we can face them. The Leorans realized how much they had already changed. Where before they hesitated, they now acted with guidance. Where before fear might have frozen them, they now had confidence bolstered by the humans' example. It was a fragile confidence, but it was something. In the following hours, humans and Leorans worked tirelessly. Defensive positions were strengthened along key valleys and mountain passes. Energy barriers surrounded vital cities, reinforced with human-designed supports. Patrols moved constantly, scanning for enemy movements. Drones and orbital sensors extended their reach, giving the defenders early warnings of any approaching fleet. One night, Terran stood beside Lieutenant Kara as they checked a sensor grid. Do you really think we can stop them? He asked quietly. Kara adjusted her visor and smiled slightly. If we do everything right, yes. But we must be ready for surprises. They will try things we cannot predict. That is why humans adapt. They face the unknown and still survive. You must learn that too. The next day, a small raider probe appeared near the outer system. Humans acted immediately, using a combination of orbital lasers and guided drones. They intercepted it before it could transmit any information back to the enemy fleet. The Leorans watched in awe as the probe disintegrated without a single human life lost. This is incredible, Terran whispered. They can stop anything before it even happens. How do they do this? They prepare, Kara said. They anticipate, and they do not panic. That is what makes them humans. Deathworlders survive by expecting the worst and acting anyway. Even as the colony trained and prepared, tensions grew. Some Liorans worried that humans' methods were too extreme, too dangerous. What if they destroy too much in the process? One elder asked. We do not want to be saved at the cost of our world itself. Selin listened, but she had already seen the results. The humans were precise, calculating, and deliberate. They destroyed threats but preserved civilians and infrastructure. They adapted to the planet's unique features, using natural terrain to their advantage rather than tearing it apart. Then the scouts brought news that froze the council. The enemy fleet had jumped into the system. Hundreds of ships, larger and faster than anything Leora had ever known, approached in a coordinated formation. Their dark hulls glinted ominously in the twin suns' light. Marcus observed silently. They are strong, he said, but they are predictable. They have numbers, yes, but we have tactics, terrain, and surprise on our side. Remember, we fight not just with weapons, but with mind and skill. Do not underestimate them, but do not fear them either. The humans began positioning defenses strategically, moving quickly to fortify choke points in space and along the surface. Liorans assisted, following orders with a mix of fear and determination. Every soldier, every volunteer, every engineer understood that their actions now mattered more than ever. As the fleet closed in, a single human soldier, Sergeant Holt, addressed a group of Liorans. "Look around," he said, gesturing to the reinforced walls and sensor arrays. "You see obstacles. You see dangers. But you also see hope. That hope is not magic. It is action. It is preparation. We will face them together and we will survive. Remember that." For the first time, the Liorans felt a sense of confidence they had never known. They had relied on humans for protection, but now they were learning to fight alongside them. Fear still lingered, but it was tempered by knowledge, training, and the humans' example. Terran, watching the horizon as the enemy fleet advanced, realized the full truth. Humans were unlike any species he had ever studied. They were not just strong or brave, they were adaptive, inventive, and relentless. They could survive the impossible, and they could teach others to do the same. As the first missiles from the enemy fleet reached Leora's defenses, the humans reacted instantly. Laser turrets fired, energy shields flared, and drones intercepted the attacks with precision. The raiders were forced back, stunned by the unexpected resistance. The humans' tactics were unlike anything the raiders had seen. They could not predict them, could not adapt quickly enough, and were being pushed to the edge. Selen watched with a mixture of fear and awe. The humans were doing what no other species could. They were turning a peaceful planet into a fortress capable of surviving the largest attack Leora had ever faced. Terran whispered to himself, "We asked for help, but this is more than help. This is survival, and maybe even victory." The sun set over the horizon, casting long shadows across the valley. Above, human ships patrolled silently, ready for the battle to come. Below, humans and Liorans worked side by side, united by a single purpose: to protect Leora, no matter the cost. And in the distance, the enemy fleet advanced, unaware that they were about to face a force unlike anything in the galaxy. The Deathworlders of Earth were ready, and Leora would not fall. The day of the attack arrived. Leora's twin suns shone brightly over the valleys and crystal cities, but there was no warmth in the air. Tension hung thick across the planet and in space above it. The enemy fleet, larger and faster than anything the Liorans had ever imagined, approached in perfect formation. Hundreds of ships glinted with menace, their energy weapons primed and ready. Commander Selen stood on the observation deck, her heart racing. Humans moved calmly around her, issuing orders, positioning forces, and coordinating defenses with an efficiency she could hardly comprehend. She had grown to trust them, but the scale of this threat was terrifying. Captain Marcus addressed the fleet over comms. "All units focus on coordination. Protect civilians first. Use the terrain and our defenses. Anticipate their moves and do not underestimate them. Move as one." On the surface, Lieutenant Kara directed Leoran volunteers, pairing them with human squads. "Remember your training," she said.
"Stay calm, follow orders, and act decisively."
"The enemy may be strong, but they are predictable. Humans are not. Learn from them." The first wave of enemy ships entered the system. Their approach was aggressive, moving quickly toward the planetary surface to disable the city's energy shields. Orbital sensors detected multiple attack points, forcing humans and Liorans to act instantly. "Deploy drones to intercept incoming missiles," Sergeant Holt ordered. A swarm of small, fast drones darted into space, their weapons flaring as they intercepted the projectiles. Energy shields shimmered along the cities, reinforced by human engineers working tirelessly. The Liorans watched in awe. Their city defenses, once vulnerable, now operated like a single synchronized organism under human direction. Humans moved through the chaos with calm precision, adapting to every new threat. Terran was stationed at one of the city's energy control hubs. He monitored incoming enemy ships while following instructions from Kara. A wave of raider fighters attempted to bypass the shields, but humans had anticipated this. Turrets fired in perfect timing and drones swarmed, cutting the raiders down before they could reach the surface. They predict everything," Terran whispered to himself, unable to hide his amazement. "How can they see what will happen before it happens?" They do not see the future, Kara replied calmly, checking the readings. They understand probability, patterns, and reactions. They adapt faster than the enemy can. That is what makes them humans. That is what makes them Deathworlders. The battle intensified. Enemy ships targeted civilian zones, hoping to break the morale of the defenders. Humans responded immediately. Captain Marcus directed orbital strikes that disabled enemy weapons without damaging the cities below. Human squads on the ground reinforced vulnerable buildings, evacuated civilians, and repaired critical systems under fire. Selen felt a mix of fear and admiration. She had never seen any species fight like this. Humans were not reckless. They were precise, strategic, and willing to risk themselves to save others. Each action was calculated, yet filled with courage that inspired everyone around them. In one valley, a human squad led by Sergeant Holt faced a group of Raider ground units attempting to sabotage a shield generator. The humans moved swiftly, using terrain for cover, coordinating attacks and neutralizing the Raiders with minimal risk to themselves. Leoran volunteers, following their example, fought bravely alongside them, learning in real time the effectiveness of human tactics. Meanwhile, Captain Marcus targeted the enemy flagship. Using a combination of stealth drones and orbital lasers, he devised a plan to trap the ship in a narrow space corridor near the planet's rings. Enemy sensors failed to detect the setup until it was too late. "Lock all weapons on the flagship," Marcus ordered. "Fire on my mark." A series of beams shot through space, hitting the enemy ship precisely. The vessel shook violently as systems failed one by one. Explosions erupted, but humans ensured debris would not endanger the planet below. The enemy flagship, a symbol of fear for many, was destroyed within minutes. The remaining Raider fleet panicked. They had not expected humans to coordinate such a flawless defense. Ships scattered, some attempting hyperspace jumps, others attempting desperate attacks. Humans intercepted them all, using a mix of direct fire, drones, and strategic traps that exploited enemy overconfidence. On the surface, civilians cheered quietly as enemy attacks were neutralized. For many, it was the first time they had seen hope in battle. Leoran children watched humans move with unmatched skill, rescuing those trapped under rubble, repairing shields, and repelling attackers. Terran could hardly believe it. "We thought we were helpless," he said to Kara, "but with them, we can actually fight back. We can survive." Kara smiled slightly, keeping her focus on the monitors. "Humans do not just fight. They inspire others to fight. That is why we survive. That is why we succeed." The battle continued for hours. Leorans, once untrained in combat, had now adapted to basic tactics. Humans coordinated every move, teaching through example. They reinforced barricades, set traps, and used the planet's terrain to funnel enemy forces into predictable paths. Each Raider attack was met with prepared resistance, often neutralized before it could reach civilians. Even when enemy forces adapted, humans countered instantly. Patrols moved, drones intercepted, and energy weapons fired with surgical precision. Leoran saw how humans thought differently, focusing on solutions, adapting quickly, and using creativity in ways the aliens had never imagined. At the climax of the battle, a group of enemy ships attempted a surprise landing near the capital. Marcus personally led a team, combining orbital strikes and ground forces in perfect coordination. Enemy soldiers were trapped in narrow passes, facing humans from multiple angles. The Raiders tried to retreat, but humans anticipated every move. By nightfall, the enemy fleet was in full retreat. The surviving Raiders scrambled for hyperspace, demoralized and defeated. Leora had survived the largest threat it had ever faced, and the humans had proven their unmatched skill. Cillian walked through the city streets, observing the aftermath. Buildings were damaged but repairable. Civilians were shaken but alive. Volunteers worked alongside humans, learning the final lessons of battle. They saved us," one elder said quietly. "Not just from the Raiders, but from ourselves. We would not have survived without them." Terran nodded, exhausted but inspired. "They are more than warriors. They are teachers, protectors, legends in the making. We have learned so much in such a short time." Captain Marcus addressed the Leoran Council. "The threat is gone for now," he said. "But you must remember what you learned today. Defense is not just about walls or weapons. It is about preparation, coordination, and courage. You are capable of protecting your home, but only if you continue to learn and adapt." Selen looked at the humans, feeling gratitude she could not fully express. "We asked for help," she said softly, "and we received something greater than we imagined. You have changed us. Forever." Marcus nodded, a small smile crossing his face. "That is the purpose. We protect, we adapt, and we leave those we save stronger than before. That is what humans do." As the twin moons rose over Leora, humans and Lyorans worked side by side to repair damage, reinforce defenses, and restore hope. The battle had been won, but the lessons learned were far more valuable than the victory itself. The Leorans had seen the true nature of humans, their courage, adaptability, and ingenuity. They had witnessed how a species from a harsh, unforgiving planet could survive, protect others, and inspire those around them. Terran gazed up at the sky, where human ships patrolled silently. He understood now why they were called Deathworlders. They were not simply survivors of a harsh world. They were champions of life, protectors of the helpless, and masters of any challenge they faced. Selene stood beside him, her gaze steady. "We have been given more than protection," she said. "We have been given knowledge, courage, and hope, and that is worth more than any victory." Somewhere in the distance, the scattered raiders regrouped. They had been defeated, humiliated, and forced to retreat. But Marcus and his humans knew that the galaxy was full of dangers, some far greater than raiders. Today was a victory, yes, but tomorrow the lessons learned here would be tested again. For now, however, Leora was safe. Humans had transformed fear into strength, panic into preparation, and helplessness into courage. The colony had survived, and the Deathworlders of Earth had proven that they were not just warriors, they were legends, capable of facing the impossible and teaching others to do the same. As the first light of a new day touched the crystal cities, the Leorans began to see a future they had never imagined. With humans at their side, they were no longer just a peaceful, fragile colony. They were a force capable of defending themselves, ready to face any threat that came from the stars, and the Deathworlders of Earth remained, silent, vigilant, and ready for whatever came next. The battle had ended, and the first light of Leora's twin suns bathed the planet in a warm glow. The skies were clear, with only a few lingering clouds of smoke from distant fires. Lyorans emerged from shelters, eyes wide with relief and wonder. The humans had saved the colony from complete destruction, and the Leorans now understood the true meaning of courage. Commander Selene walked through the streets of the capital, observing the city slowly coming back to life. Buildings had been damaged, but human engineers and Lyoran volunteers worked tirelessly to repair them. Children ran through cleared streets, their laughter mixing with the hum of energy shields and machinery. Civilians thanked the humans, though the humans often nodded quietly and moved on to the next task without seeking recognition. Terran, standing on a balcony overlooking the repaired crystal plazas, felt a mix of awe and gratitude. He had watched humans work, fight, and inspire. Their strength was extraordinary, but it was their willingness to protect others that had left the greatest impression. "They are remarkable," he whispered to Kara, who was nearby, checking a newly installed energy barrier. Kara glanced at him, her expression calm. "They are not perfect, but they endure. That is what matters. You can learn from them, and your people can become stronger because of it." Selene approached Terran and Kara, her voice steady. "The Leorans will never forget what the humans have done, but more importantly, we must remember what we learned. Courage, preparation, and action, these will define our future." The humans, for their part, had already begun assessing the long-term needs of the colony. Captain Marcus coordinated with Selene to establish permanent defenses, improved communication networks, and training programs for Leoran soldiers and volunteers. Every decision focused on making the colony capable of surviving and thriving, even without humans present. "They will not always be here," Marcus said. "But what we leave behind, knowledge, training, and courage, will remain. That is how we protect planets, not by staying, but by teaching them to stand for themselves." Selene nodded, understanding the depth of his words. Humans had fought alongside them, yes, but they had also changed Leora forever. The colony would no longer be helpless. They had learned to act decisively, to coordinate under pressure, and to protect their people in ways they had never imagined. In the following days, humans and Lyorans worked together to repair the city and surrounding settlements. Debris was cleared, energy shields reinforced, and water systems restored. Volunteers were organized into patrols, and humans taught them strategies to detect and respond to threats. Even small children and elders found ways to contribute, encouraged by the humans' example of courage and resilience. One evening, Taran walked with Kara along a quiet street. "Do you ever tire?" he asked. "You have been fighting, teaching, and helping for days without rest." Kara smiled faintly. "We endure because we must. Humans are used to surviving harsh worlds. Fatigue is part of it, but determination is stronger. You can learn that too." Taran nodded thoughtfully. "I think I understand now. Humans are not just fighters. They teach us to survive, to adapt, and to protect. That is incredible." Selene called a council meeting to discuss the future. "The raiders have retreated," she said. "Our cities are safe, but we cannot be complacent. The humans have shown us what is possible. We must continue to strengthen our defenses and ensure our people are ready for anything." One elder spoke, her voice trembling slightly. "We have lived peacefully for centuries. We have never known war like this. Can we truly be ready?" Selene's eyes were firm. "We can, we must, and we will. The humans have taught us that courage, preparation, and unity can overcome any threat. We will honor their teachings by protecting our world and our people." The humans, in turn, prepared to depart. Their ships were repaired, systems checked, and crew ready. Captain Marcus gathered the Leoran leaders for a final meeting. "Our mission here is complete," he said. "We have helped your colony survive. We have taught you what we know. From here, your people are capable of defending themselves. Use the knowledge wisely, and remember, courage and adaptability are your greatest weapons." Selene stepped forward, her voice steady. "You have given us more than protection. You have given us hope, knowledge, and courage. We will not forget what you have done. Leora owes you everything." Marcus nodded, a small smile crossing his face. "We do what we must. That is enough. The rest is up to you." Before departing, humans assisted one final time, strengthening energy shields around every city and installing early warning systems. Leorans watched, fascinated as humans moved like a single organism. Every action precise, purposeful, and effective. Then without fanfare, the ships lifted into space and disappeared into the stars. The colony was left in silence, but it was not the silence of fear. It was the silence of possibility. The Leorans had survived. They had learned. They had grown. And they now knew that even the greatest threats could be faced with courage, preparation, and unity. Taran looked up at the sky, where the human fleet had vanished. "They are gone," he said softly. "But they left something greater than themselves. They left us strength we never had before." Selene placed a hand on his shoulder. "Yes, and now it is our responsibility to protect it. We are not just survivors anymore. We are guardians of Leora. We are prepared for whatever the galaxy may send our way." Over the following weeks, life on Leora slowly returned to normal. Children played safely in the streets, farmers tended their fields, and engineers repaired and improved the cities. But the people were changed. Where once they had lived in peace, unaware of the dangers beyond their skies, they now carried knowledge, courage, and readiness. Taran often reflected on the humans' lessons. Their discipline, adaptability, and willingness to face danger head-on had left a lasting impression. He knew that the galaxy was vast and full of threats, but he also knew that Leora could face them, because humans had shown them the way. One evening, as the twin suns set, Selene addressed a group of volunteers. "We have survived what we thought impossible. We have learned from the strongest warriors the galaxy has ever known. Now it is our turn to carry that strength forward. We protect our people, our home, and each other. That is our duty and our honor." The Leorans listened intently, their hearts filled with pride and determination. They had faced death and emerged stronger, guided by the humans who had come from Earth. They had seen courage in action, strategy in motion, and hope in the darkest moments. And they understood now that survival was not just about avoiding danger. It was about facing it with knowledge, preparation, and unity. Taran looked around at the bustling city, the repaired energy grids, and the volunteers training for the future. He smiled. "The humans were right," he said. "We are stronger than we thought, and we will protect our world no matter what comes." Selene nodded, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "We asked for help, and we received more than we could imagine. We will honor the humans' teachings by ensuring that Leora remains strong, safe, and ready. Our world will never be the same, and it will never again be defenseless." As night fell over the crystal valleys and twin moons rose, the people of Leora looked to the stars with a new understanding. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, but they were no longer helpless. Humans had shown them what courage, strength, and determination could achieve. The legends of the Deathworlders of Earth were real, and their impact would echo through Leora for generations. The Leorans had survived. They had learned. They had grown. And the future, once uncertain and filled with fear, now held promise, hope, and the strength to face whatever challenges might come from the stars. The Deathworlders of Earth had come, and their presence had changed Leora forever.